I have no yachts, jets, or anything. I was only trying to impress you.
Is that true?
Of course not! I'm filthy stinking rich!
My catered lunch awaits. My unibrow. Absolutely imported.
Hello everybody, it's the Malmadius back at it again, where today we're gonna dive into one of my favorite shows of all time, SpongeBob SquarePants. This show has been around longer than many of you have been alive, and just recently surpassed Arthur as being the longest running animated kids show. And I mean, was there ever any real competition? One of them is about a rat or a gopher or something learning how to grow up. Boring! Meanwhile, this absolute piece of pure cinema is about a guy just kind of vibing with his friends working at a fast food place with no other aspirations or desires in life.
We do that for 40 years and then we die.
It's just like my life. And the best part about this show is that despite being a kid's show, the writing is just so juicy, so good, that it can give us a lot to talk about. Like how in the first SpongeBob movie, it's about understanding your place in life and accepting the existential dread of death, or the implications of this royal pedigree, or even how Squidward meets all the clinical signs of being a sociopath. But we can talk about all of that at length some other time. No. Today is something far more important. Cold, hard cash. I want to know how rich is Bikini Bottom's eccentric rich boy, Squidward's arch nemesis, Squilliam Fancyson. This guy is everything Squidward wishes he could be. A successful clarinet player who runs his own band. He's a professor of music at a local academy. He sells out entire concerts and is loved by the people of Bikini Bottom. I mean, the guy said it best himself.
I'm living your dreams, Squidward.
So how do we go about finding the net worth of someone like Squilliam Fancyson? Well, let's start by analyzing everything he says he owns. Out of all the things he mentions offhand, the only thing that we ever truly get to see is his house. In the episode House Fancy, Squilliam is a guest host of some reality TV show, and he ends up giving us a fairly good tour of everything he owns in his house. So we actually get a good look into how much he might be worth. But to get a half-decent estimate about how much this mansion might be worth, it'll actually be a bit complicated. First things first, we need to see what type of city Bikini Bottom actually is. Different cities have different basic values depending on the area you're living in. Rural areas like farmland and less developed areas are often much cheaper than urban areas like big cities and huge metropolitan areas. For example, in New York City, properties can go for $2,704 average price per square foot. Meanwhile, if you travel only 16 miles north to the much smaller town of Creeskill Borough, you'll see an average price of about $443 per square foot. Lots of different factors contribute to how valuable any particular area is. But the biggest thing you can count on are the types of opportunities that are available in a particular area. If there are more high-paying jobs, more big things like stadiums or arenas, many different universities, all of these things will contribute to making an area much more valuable. Now let's try and see what a property in Bikini Bottom might be worth. Now it's difficult to say how big Bikini Bottom actually is. Some population estimates might say 46,853.
Who's number 46,853?
While others will say it's as little as 538. But now let's take a closer look and see if we can't get a better idea ourselves. We can see that Bikini Bottom has a lot of different buildings, at least one general university, one music academy, a nice big food store, a mall, 2 prominent fast food stores, a few social clubs, a stadium where they host big events like the Fry Cook Games and snail races, a jail, a bank, and even a nice little concert area. So it does seem like Bikini Bottom has a lot of different businesses and leisure opportunities. However, despite all of this, the population does seem to be a little on the low side. And we can see from the wide shot that plenty of areas near or around Bikini Bottom are not developed at all. Now, this information actually does help us a lot because it tells us that Bikini Bottom is not so... Tommy, get out of the way. I'm making a new video. Yeah, Bikini Bottom is not so developed that we should compare it to someplace like New York City or Seattle. However, it's not so underdeveloped that I would classify it as rural. We also have to consider where his house is based on footage from that House Fancy episode. It's pretty obvious that Squilliam's mansion is not located right in the middle of the city, which would way shoot up the price of his home. No, instead, Squilliam's mansion looks like it's in a similar area to Squidward's house, especially based on the background. I mean, he even says as much when watching the TV show.
Hey, that's no better than my house!
Needless to say, it's not like Squilliam lives in like the Hollywood Hills or something like that. So now let's try to figure out how much the house is worth in a moderate-sized town in a more suburban area. Let's start with the number of rooms. We have 1, 2, 3 rooms per story explicitly shown. We see there's at least one bathroom, but it might be safe to say there's at least one more around. He has a beautiful rooftop garden. He's got an elevator, a massive foyer.
It's massive. And you know what else is massive?
But none of this necessarily matters if we don't know the exact size of the house. So the biggest thing we need to do right now is figure out how large every room of the house is. Luckily, we're given one thing that has a specific length.
130-foot-long sculpture of my unibrow. If you look closely, you'll notice it's made entirely out of gilded doorknob.
So this whole thing is 130 feet long.
That's quite big.
Now let's see how many doorknobs there are in this particular close-up. Now let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, there's 23. There's 23 doorknobs in total that we can see in this close-up shot. And now we can line up this shot with the zoomed out version. Now let's just extrapolate the rest and add up how many doorknobs make the curve. Now 23 times, that's about 179 doorknobs over the length of this entire unibrow structure. Now that doesn't exactly line up to the length because of all these curves in the mustache, so we just have to figure out the length of a curved line. Well, good thing we have simple calculators online to figure that out. Now let's see here. All we have to do is, okay. What? So all we have to do is get a ruler and measure it on the screen and compare it to the actual length. So the curve has 179 doorknobs, and the curve itself is 7.125 inches long, and the 130-foot reference length is 5.5625 inches long. Let's do some simple calculations to get the feet per each doorknob. So we'll line up the units here so that we have the answer. And we'll see by doing this that the inches will cancel out with each other. So for the final measurement, we get 0.93 feet per doorknob. 0.93 feet? That's huge! That's like an 11-inch diameter, or more than like 23 centimeters for those of you in more civilized countries. That's the size of one of those lion doorknobs on those ancient Chinese palaces. Massive!
And you know what else is massive?
But it's the best reference at this point that we've got. Anyway, now let's look at this close-up shot of Squilliam standing next to one of those giga doorknobs. Side note, by the way, why does he just have a random doorknob in the wall like that? What is he, like, ripping off one of the aisles at the Home Depot? I don't know, man, that's like next level of creepy behavior or something. Nah, bro, this guy's a sociopath. Anyway, comparing Squilliam's height to the doorknob, we can say that Squilliam is 7.72888888 doorknobs tall, which means he's about 7.19 feet tall. Bro, Squilliam's towering over LeBron James and Kevin Durant. That's crazy. But for the detractors that think I'm just falling into the same trap as another famous YouTuber, this is still believable considering the biggest octopi are 30 feet long and the biggest squid are more than 50 feet long. Now that we know Squilliam's height, we can estimate the size of his mansion. Let's look at the house in comparison to Squilliam. We see that his mansion is 14.5 Squilliams tall, which translates to about 104.6 feet tall, or 31.8 meters tall. We know that based on the elevator, the house is 11 stories tall, plus the rooftop garden. So now that we've got all these reference measurements, we need to find out something called the total livable square footage, because that's what gives us the real property value. So to calculate the total livable square footage of the home, we need to count the space in each floor, excluding places like lofts, cupboards, garages, and then the space that's left is the space that we can charge for. Since we only see some of the rooms on the first floor, we'll have to do some educational guesswork, but based on all of these scenes and how Squilliam is positioned, I'm guessing we have about 2,500 square feet per floor. And that's a really conservative guess. It could actually be way, way more. But now let's consider 2,500 square feet. I mean, 2,500 square feet is like if you put 9 full-size school buses together, plus a Subaru. I wouldn't know because I never rode those full buses. Anyway, 2,500 square feet times 11 floors of living space. Notice I'm not including the garden or the elevator since they don't actually count as livable space. But now we get a grand total of 27,500 square feet. This place is massive.
And you know what else is massive?
So let's try cross-referencing the price of the house with its rough equivalent here in America. This episode came back in 2008, right before the market crash. Now, considering what a mansion this size would cost today really depends on the location, like we said earlier. Naturally, a property in a more expensive location will be worth a lot more. If Squilliam's house was in Beverly Hills, it'd be worth a whopping $75 million. But we want to be conservative with this estimate. So let's consider a more reasonable town. We said that Bikini Bottom has an urban area and a suburban area where Squilliam probably lives. At the same time, this suburban town has things like universities, stadiums, all while being very close to downtown. Luckily, I think I've got the perfect stand-in for Bikini Bottom. Guys, you're going to want to check this out. So we needed a big city in a suburban area, right? And what type of people do you think these Bikini Bottomites would be if they were American?
Hi there, young people. Nice day today.
So, you like kicking butts, do ya? Well, we'll show you, old man! There he is! Go get him!
I thought the same thing. Ohio. Now, Columbus, Ohio is a nice big city like downtown Bikini Bottom. And if you go a little bit off from it, it's this place called Granville, Ohio. Check it out. They've got a university, a huge golf course. They've got a huge mansion and a polo club. And in 2008, the population was just 5,265. So I think we've got a good stand-in here. Now let's see how much Squilliam's house is worth in Granville. So now we've got all the pieces to finally see how much this house is worth. In Granville, property goes for $218.03 per square foot of livable space. Now we estimated that the mega mansion was 27,500 square feet. So 27,500 square feet times $218.03 per square foot is a grand total of, drumroll please, $5,995,825.21. So this thing would be worth between $5,995,825.21 and $75 million? In actuality, it's probably somewhere in the middle, considering all the extra stuff he has inside, like the gold doorknobs, the gilded toilet paper holder. So I'd say it's actually closer to a solid $6.5 million. So that's his home covered, and I know Squilliam talks about a whole bunch of different things that he owns, but we never actually see any of these things in the show, so I'm not really going to include it here. I mean, can you blame me? I mean, look back at when he's talking about all this other stuff. For all I know, this guy could just be lying within earshot because he knows Squidward is going to be listening to him. Like I said before, this guy's a sociopath. But something else we can consider is his job as a professor of music, and his ability to sell out a full concert like it's nothing. Musicians have a wide range of wages they can end up making, depending on how popular you end up being. I mean, let's look at someone like Kenny G, who is making upwards of $600,000 per month, allegedly. Now, I have no idea how much Squilliam might have been making at his peak.
He doesn't even have to touch an instrument to be brilliant.
He's not even playing his stupid clarinet at the actual rehearsal. And I don't want to be that guy who compares crowd sizes, but look at Kelpie Stadium and compare that to Squilliam's. I mean, guys, Squidward basically sold out the same size theater before, during SpongeBob's best day ever, and it's not like he's making any money. But let's be fair, maybe this guy was cooking so good at the height of his career that people are just sitting there, just to be in his presence. Lastly, there's his job as professor of music. Now let's be honest, this could really be a big moneymaker for him, especially if he was teaching 10 years at some prestigious university. Oh my goodness! This is just a community college. No shot does Patrick have to get into something like Beverly School of Music. Come on. So assuming Squilliam works at some normal community college teaching music, let's go back and compare him with the average salary in Ohio again. A professor would be making about $51,000 a year, with some tenured professors making up to $83,000 per year. And that's assuming he's been working there for something like 7 years or whatever you need to get the minimum tenure position. So let's recap. Squilliam works an $83,000 job while making revenue from his music. His mansion's worth about $6.5 million, which is crazy, but not like the mega billions that I thought of at the start of this video. But hey, when you compare that to some people who are literally living under rocks, I'd say that's pretty good. Before we go, I've got a question for you guys. I'm sure you like SpongeBob if you've stuck through this video so long. So tell me, who do you like more as a character? Mr. Krabs or Plankton? One's large and in charge, the other's got a lot in a small package. Let me know by clicking on the pinned comment and liking one of the first two options. We'll see who won in the next video. And if you've made it this far, I'll make you a deal. Watch this other video on the screen, and if you like that one too, then you might as well subscribe. Here's a new channel I'm making. I'm trying to get those numbers up too. It's a more laid-back, chill gaming channel for anyone who wants to put something on in the background. I hope I'll see you there. I'm the Malmadius, and as always, have a great day, and make it a great day for someone else. Take care, everybody.